For decades, Kelly Ripa has been a familiar presence in millions of homes, a voice that greeted mornings, a laugh that softened difficult days, and a personality that felt less like a celebrity and more like a companion. So, when a story emerges about her possibly stepping away from the spotlight, not for scandal or ambition, but for love, it carries a different emotional weight. This script is not simply about television or fame, it is about what happens when a life built in public collides with a private moment that changes everything. It explores devotion, exhaustion, and the kind of choice that forces someone to reevaluate success itself. At its heart, this is a story about partnership, about the quiet strength behind public smiles, and about what it truly means to show up for the person you love when it matters most. The emotional shock of a potential farewell. The idea of Kelly Ripa stepping away from television feels almost unimaginable to longtime viewers. For so many, her presence has been a constant, woven into the rhythm of everyday life. Morning routines, coffee cups, school runs, and quiet moments at home have all been accompanied by her familiar voice and energy. That is why the suggestion of her departure lands not like ordinary entertainment news, but like the closing of a deeply personal chapter. In this narrative, the shock is not rooted in gossip, but in emotional connection. Kelly has never simply hosted a show. She has shared stories, vulnerabilities, and humor in a way that made people feel seen. The possibility of her leaving Live doesn't just signal a change in programming. It stirs memories, nostalgia, and a subtle sense of loss. It reminds viewers how entwined her career has become with their own lives, making the moment feel less like a professional shift and more like a farewell from a longtime friend. A career that became a comfort. Kelly Ripa's rise was not just about success, it was about consistency. Over decades, she transformed from a young actress into the face of daytime television. Her gift was not simply hosting, but creating an atmosphere. She made celebrity interviews feel like conversations across a kitchen table. She balanced glamour with approachability, humor with warmth. For many, her show became a kind of emotional anchor. No matter what was happening in the world, Kelly's laughter and quick wit offered a sense of normalcy. This part of the story highlights that unique bond between host and audience. She was present during personal milestones viewers barely realized they were sharing with her. That longevity turned her career into something more than entertainment. It became ritual. And rituals, when threatened, awaken a quiet vulnerability. The thought of her stepping away is powerful precisely because she represents continuity in a world that changes so quickly. The love story that anchored it all. To understand the depth of this imagined decision, the narrative returns to the beginning of Kelly and Mark's relationship. Their meeting on the set of All My Children has always felt like something out of a modern fairy tale. Two young actors, ambition in their eyes, chemistry that could not be ignored. Their elopement in Las Vegas sealed a partnership that would grow alongside their careers. Over the years, their marriage became part of Kelly's public identity. She spoke of Mark not as a distant celebrity spouse, but as a teammate, a confidant, and often the punchline of affectionate jokes. What audiences saw was playful banter and enduring devotion. What they didn't see, according to this story, was the private reliance. In moments of criticism, fatigue, and pressure, Mark was her refuge. That long history reframes her later choice not as a sudden sacrifice, but as a natural continuation of a bond built on mutual support. When roles begin to reverse, life has a way of shifting partnerships. In this narrative, the steady anchor that Mark once provided becomes something Kelly must now offer in return. Behind the scenes, whispers of his exhaustion and health concerns begin to surface. These are not dramatic tabloid moments, but subtle signs. Fatigue, strain, and a body that can no longer ignore the cost of relentless motion. Friends describe Mark as proud, driven, and slow to admit vulnerability. That pride, once a source of success, quietly becomes a risk. Kelly, living in front of cameras, sees what most do not, the moments when strength falters. This reversal is central to the story's emotional power. The woman who once leaned on her husband now finds herself stepping into the role of protector. It illustrates how long relationships evolve. Support is not static. It moves back and forth, shaped by time, health, and circumstance. The weight of an impossible choice. The heart of this narrative lies in the decision itself. To step away from a career at its peak is not simply a professional shift, it is an identity rupture. Kelly's life has been defined by her work for decades. To imagine leaving it, not because she must, but because someone she loves needs her, reframes success entirely. This moment highlights the courage required to choose something invisible over something celebrated. There are no ratings for late nights of worry, no applause for being present in quiet rooms, yet those are often the spaces where love proves itself. The story emphasizes that this choice is not impulsive, it is agonizing. It is weighed against millions of viewers, years of effort, and the knowledge that walking away means surrendering a part of herself. And still, she chooses her husband. That decision challenges the idea that achievement is measured only in longevity or fame. It suggests that sometimes the bravest act is stepping out of the light. Family as a true north. Throughout Kelly and Mark's life together, family has always been described as the center. Their 3 children grew up under the shadow of fame, yet Kelly often insisted her proudest role was motherhood. In this story, that value system becomes the compass guiding her choice. When Mark's struggles intensify, it is not just a matter between spouses, it is about what their children witness. Kelly understands that her actions teach far more than her words ever could. By prioritizing her husband, she demonstrates what commitment looks like beyond romance. It becomes a lesson in responsibility, compassion, and presence. This reframes the departure not as abandonment of a career, but as an affirmation of values. The narrative suggests that in moments of crisis, the family unit becomes a mirror. It reflects what truly matters. Kelly's decision is portrayed as an act of leadership within her own home, showing her children that love is not only spoken on good days, but lived when circumstances grow heavy. The morning that changed everything. The imagined on-air announcement is written as quiet rather than theatrical. No grand montage, no swelling music, just a woman facing her partner and an audience that has been her extended family for decades. The description focuses on small, human details. Clasped hands, a steadying breath, a voice thick with emotion. This restraint makes the moment more powerful. Kelly's words are not framed as resignation, but as gratitude. She acknowledges the show as a home, the viewers as family. Then she speaks of balance, not as an achievement, but as a fragile wire she can no longer walk. By placing her hand on Mark's knee, she makes her choice visible without spectacle. The silence that follows becomes part of the narrative, a shared pause where millions absorb the meaning. It is not the announcement itself that moves people most, but the simplicity of it, a woman choosing presence over performance. What this story leaves us with. As the narrative trails off, it does not offer neat resolution. Networks may scramble, careers may reshape, but those details are secondary. What lingers is the image of a woman at the height of her power, choosing something invisible to the world but monumental to her. The story leaves the audience not with certainty, but with reflection. It asks what we measure as success, it invites us to consider the cost of constant motion, and it quietly suggests that love, when lived fully, will eventually ask for something bold. Whether or not such a moment ever truly comes, the emotional truth of the story resonates because it mirrors a universal tension between what the world rewards and what the heart requires. And in that tension, many people recognize their own lives, their own choices, and the quiet bravery it sometimes takes to make them.